We've got an international call on the line here from Skype. And this is coming from all the way over in Scotland, where they're gearing up for probably one of the most important votes of anyone's lifetime. Tommy is with us via Skype. Hello, Tommy.
Ian.
Hey, you're on with Ian and Chris.
Chris, Ian, how you doing? You'll take our lies, but you'll never take our freedom and our free talk live.
Well, thanks for calling in, Tommy. It's good to hear from you.
Hey, so it's, what is it, like midnight 30 over there? What time is it right now?
Spot on, mate. 6 minutes premature, 5 minutes premature, 12:25.
Yep.
So we're 6.5 hours away from the polling stations open.
Okay.
And it's open from 7 a.m. UK time to 12 p.m.
Now, just for our listeners who might not know what's going on at the polls, because normally people don't call from Scotland to talk about political races. I mean, I wouldn't want to hear anybody talking about a political race, even if they were calling from here in the United States. I just don't care about politicians.
Oh, unless they're in New Hampshire,
But
right, Ian?
No, I don't even talk about that, really. I mean, we've talked about James Cleveland. What do we talk about? What politician?
Well,
in New Hampshire?
I brought up a lot of Scott Brown, but that was me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know who that guy is. He's just another scumbag to me. Like, to me, politician names are all interchangeable, and they're all just a bunch of trash.
Yeah, but what's going on in Scotland, though, now that's really something.
Right. This has nothing to do with politics, really. This is about independence, or at the very least, secession. The idea is that Scotland is looking – there's a proposal to have the idea of Scotland leave the idea of the United Kingdom. Is that kind of in a nutshell what's going on today when the polls open?
Yeah, if you analyse, the founding fathers of the United States of America were Scots, you know, and Scotland, this little country of 5 million people, surrounded by sea, but is locked with another country called England, and that forms with another couple of countries, Northern Ireland and Wales, as part of the United Kingdom or Great Britain. Over in your country, you'll just know it as England, because that's how insignificant Scotland is treated by our British paymasters. We're just a little insignificance. But you see, Scotland is very asset rich, apart from the people being the most creative people in God's green earth, from making the tyres that we drive around our cars, from the TV to penicillin. And as I stated, the founding fathers of the United States of America, the majority were Scots. And so what I give to you is Scotland has been living under tyranny for over 300 years. And tomorrow we are about to historically, God willing, vote yes to be free from the rule of Westminster in London. Now, this Parliament in Westminster is ridden with paedophiles. It is corrupt, and we have had corrupt politicians who have presided over the banking collapse in the UK. And these chutzpah-loving sons of Satan are turning round to Scotland and saying to us, you cannot run your own economy, when it's these same fools who have helped destroy not only Scottish economy, but the British economy by allowing their friends and their bankers to run free and rampant with their voodoo economics.
Now, Tommy, are you still driving a cab out there?
Well, see, what has happened, I lost my licence due to me getting a soccer player free from his illegal contract with a team called Sevco, formerly known as the Glasgow Rangers. So I'm in a bit of a hiding and under death threats myself.
I would like to know what the word on the street is. I mean, there's obviously polls.
I'll stay on hold.
So hang on. I want to bring you back here in a moment. Tommy, this guy's for real. I mean, he's got this guy's really in. You can tell by the accent. He's not putting us on. And we've had Tommy call in this show over the years and kind of give us the perspective from across the pond. And I want to find out what he's hearing. What are the people on the street saying about independence? We've actually got somebody on the line from Scotland. He is Tommy. We're going to get back to him here in just a moment to give us an update on what it's like. What's going on over there right now? I mean, sure, we can sit here and read news articles, but we've actually got somebody who's there. So we'll get into that here. There's a vote coming up that the polls will be opening in a matter of hours over in the UK, in Scotland, where people will be able to cast their vote on whether or not Scotland should be able to separate from the United Kingdom, which I think is a wonderful concept. I hope that it works out. I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but the polls are showing it's allegedly going to be a close race, if you believe polls, which before an election, a lot of times those things aren't really necessarily the most accurate. As we go back to Tommy, he is in Glasgow. Tommy, you're back on Free Talk Live with Ian and Chris.
Just to put it into the true picture for all your wonderful listeners, Scotland today, or tomorrow for you guys, this will be, if we vote yes, our Independence Day. You had it in 1776, July 4th. Ours could be the 18th of September 2014, and we could get our independence years after many people fought and died. You know, the massacre at Culloden, when the Jacobite uprising was cruelly crushed. You know, the Longshanks rule of England. You know, now, the campaign that has happened just now has been a true beacon for democracy. The way it has been conducted on both sides, yes and no. There has been a lot of negativity from the no side, and the no side, to keep the union together, has been backed by the media, the BBC, which has told lies.
Well, of course, the UK
lies.
doesn't want to lose any tax base.
Oh, yeah, and the BBC's government run, right? So
Yes,
they're...
indeed. And the main resource is the North Sea oil. Now, Scotland has got a tremendous resource, which is this oil. The oil is Brent sweet crude, is the champagne. Someone today, I do a campaign. I've been doing campaigning myself, but something they said that it's the champagne of oil, the Brent sweet crude. And
They said similar things about Libya, I believe, too.
Yeah, we've got untapped resources, but what has happened, there's 40 food banks surrounding the 5 miles where I sit in Glasgow. People are starving and under tremendous poverty, yet most of this oil revenue is taken down in London, and the whole of London and the whole economy is London-centric. So there's many regions of England where Manchester, the Beatles in Liverpool and all places where they're suffering, and even places in Catalonia where they're the powerhouse for Spain and they're wanting to become free from Spain. Where my mother came from in Ireland, they're looking to all the people in these places are looking and saying, please, Scotland, vote yes.
Yeah, a lot of, right. You're talking about Catalonia in Spain. They are talking about secession. There's a very strong secessionist movement in Catalonia. Now, you know, I don't care what their political motivations are. I know in Catalonia they want to be more socialist than Spain. So, you know, that's their motivation for seceding.
It's about control. It's about control of their
it's about
own
local control.
Destiny, more autonomy. Yes, because Scotland, people are making decisions in England. It's like United States of America having the decisions made by Mexico or Canada.
Well,
and
it's also,
right.
I mean, it doesn't make sense that the U.S. is even still together, and I hope that the Scottish secession, I hope it passes, and I hope that we'll see Catalonia secede, and then we'll see Quebec leave Canada, and New Hampshire leave the United States, Texas, Vermont.
Yeah.
The more secession, the better. I don't care what the political motivations are. But what are you hearing from people, Tommy? I mean, obviously there's the statement I saw online that some people are saying that poor people are going to vote to secede, rich people are going to vote to stay. I don't know if there's anything to that.
Yes, there is tremendous in that, because I've been doing my own campaign for the last couple of months. I've been sitting here with my computer, picking numbers out the directory and just phoning people. And I phoned all over Scotland, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and yes, the well-to-do people, a lot of them, obviously they're worried because the fear tactics have been put there that they think they're going to lose their wealth. Whereas people like myself, who have not got a pot to pee in, and we're saying, well, it can't get any worse than what we've already got. There's a lot of poverty. There's been a recession on in Glasgow for over 30 years. There's a lot of poverty, and people are starving. Children are going through, you know, and our pensioners, the oldest people in society, have to choose each winter with the cold winters of having to either eat some food or heat themselves, and 50,000 pensioners die each year.
Wow.
And what Scottish government is saying to the people, well, let us get a chance to help have more control of our own destiny, get more control of the oil, so as more of our people will benefit instead of just a few who are benefiting. And
you don't have to persuade me, Tommy.
Yeah, you're not you're not trying to convince us that Scotland should secede.
Wait, I think Chris has a question.
I want to know a couple things about this, though. I mean, you're telling us about the situation that's been going on there, and I understand that. And don't get me wrong, it's important. That's why you have this vote going on. And I really do wish you guys all the best. But there's a couple of things I think that we want to get. I think there's a couple of things we want to get out for the show for our audience, like what sort of the implications here are. One thing that I'm interested in, first things first, I think it would be great because if you pulled it off, this would be a relatively peaceful secession, right? Mm-hmm. And we here in New Hampshire, I mean, there's a secessionist movement here in New Hampshire, and one of the things that we always run into with that here is that there's going to be a civil war if you do that, because, of course, last time
roll in troops.
States tried to secede from the Union in the United States, that's exactly what happened. And I've made that argument myself before, that, like, look, these people are not going to go away peacefully. I think it would be sort of historic. I don't know if there's other recent examples of countries like separating peacefully, but this is being done by a referendum, if I understand it, right?
And it's been done by people like myself. I'm sitting here on the computer. Last weekend it was 35,000. Today I went into George Square, the centre of Glasgow, soon to be known as Freedom Square. And this is a grassroots movement similar to what happened in the Arab Spring, where the people have got together in social media and people are going out. As I say, I've sat here, phoned thousands of people, and because I used to be a salesman and I'm passionate about it, I've been converting people saying, are you undecided? Tell me what you're undecided about. And then getting them to say, yes, you know what, this makes sense. And this is what's been happening all over the place. And this, if God willing, if this is what we win, then, the succession that would happen, the more autonomy, then this would be a beacon, because then what it would show you is that people power can take on the might of the British Empire. The British Empire, it is finished, and then people will see that the oldest and newest democracy, well, the democracy, the word democracy stems from the ancient Greece, but the recent democracies, Britain being the oldest, if it happens that a part of Britain succeeds, then everybody and anybody can do it.
Yeah.
So the beacon will be lit.
I think you're right about
that. Rise up, people. Rise up, New Hampshire.
I love it.
I love it. Democracy.
Thank you. I'm no fan of democracy, but I do like the idea of secession, and I thank you, Tommy, for the call tonight. Good luck, and give us a call tomorrow if you get a chance. Give us a recap of what happened.
Really interested to hear.
Hopefully you'll be calling us a little bit more free tomorrow night. Thanks, Tommy. Good luck out there. More coming up here on Free Talk Live. Hey, it's Free Talk Live, Secession Night. Actually, it's tomorrow right now over in Scotland, and in a few hours, several hours, their polls are going to open, and people will be voting on leaving the United Kingdom, which I think is very exciting. As both Chris Cantwell here in the studio and Tommy in Glasgow pointed out, if this is successful, and I sure hope it is, I don't want to get my hopes up too much about it, but if it is successful, then that'll be a huge indicator for the rest of the world, if indeed the United Kingdom doesn't roll in with troops or nuke Scotland.
And I don't think there's any threat of that, even, by the way. I think even the Queen was kind of like, hey, you know, they never. I don't believe that there's any threat of violence on the table. If they decide to secede, they decide to secede.
Well, I know at least that's the concern over here. Whenever we talk about secession, inevitably somebody is going to have the concern that they're going to roll in tanks. Or they're going to nuke New Hampshire.
And you frequently will hear threats when people say things like that was decided during the Civil War. As far as I'm concerned, that's a threat of violence.
That's true. And Barack Obama, I think that was essentially his response. I don't know if you remember in 2012 when there were those petitions that came out, those online petitions where Texas got like over 100,000 signatures to secede, and there was 20 other states or something that also had petitions to secede from the United States, and the Texas one got enough signatures to where the White House issued a response, and that was essentially their response. It was like, we decided this in the 1800s. And so maybe there is a threat of force there, but I think that to me it's not really a non-issue. I don't think that should be. I don't think the fear about what might happen should prevent people from moving ahead with plans to secede.
I don't think so either.
I mean, it's arguable that the United Kingdom is as violent of a government, or darn close to as violent of a government, and as close to interventionist as the U.S. is. They're right up there. You know, they usually go on the same bombing runs together, and they invade the same countries together. So
easy top 5.
If the UK looks at this, if this vote is successful in Scotland, and the UK just lets it happen, then I think that's an indicator that that's what would happen in the United States as well. Despite the tough talk about how this was decided back in the 1800s in the U.S., I don't think that they would roll in tanks.
Have you followed the story over there at all? Do you know if Scotland would remain part of the European Union if it's seceded?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. I don't have the answer to that.
Maybe I'll try to search for that during the next break. Or if
I would imagine they would
have to.
I would imagine they'd have to join, right? Like they wouldn't be part of it by default. I wouldn't think.
Well, the thing that I did read was that the Queen of England would still be like the Queen of Scotland at least in the interim. They're not trying to. They want to overthrow. They want to get rid of the Parliament.
Okay.
But not necessarily like the Queen of England. Like the Queen of England, to my understanding, is actually like looked on kind of highly within Scotland from the little bit that I read about it. Yeah. But of course they'd have, the Queen of England is, above politics is the way that it's supposed to work. She's not supposed to be, they'd have their own parliament and their own prime minister or whatever, that sort of thing.
So share your thoughts here with us. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Little story from Reuters on today's vote. Scottish nationalist leader Alex Salmond implored Scots to grasp the opportunity of a lifetime to secure independence in a vote on Thursday that could break the United Kingdom apart. He said, quote, "This is our opportunity of a lifetime and we must seize it with both hands. In my estimation, this has been the greatest campaign in Scottish democratic history," though he added that the British establishment had thrown the kitchen sink at the independence campaign. He derided an offer of more powers from British leaders as a tepid offer of next to nothing, but said he would accept the result if he lost the independence vote. Scotland's future must be in Scotland's hands, he told hundreds of supporters waving the blue on white, or rather white on blue, Scottish flag who chanted, "Yes, we can." I
just picked up an article in Euractiv.com, and it says it's exclusive. It says members of the European Parliament could block an independent Scotland's EU membership if it insists on keeping currency and border treaty opt-outs negotiated by the UK, sources in two of the largest political groups in Brussels told
Good,
Euractiv.
let them block it. Let them block it. There's been talk about Bitcoin being the national currency of free
Sounds like
Scotland.
a plan.
I don't know if it's any serious talk, but I think there have been some opinion pieces about it online. Like, could this happen? They're not going to have their own currency right out the gate, and is it possible Bitcoin or some sort of cryptocurrency could be that option for them?
Well, they can trade in whatever they see fit. Why have an official currency at all?
Right. Why go through the same processes of creating your own central bank and make the same mistakes that all these other countries have made? There certainly are plenty of countries that use the U.S. greenback. I mean, so there's a lot of places that don't have central banks, from what I understand.
They just are the victims of other central banks.
Right. I mean, not that that's ideal, but, using Bitcoin could be a solution. So I'm eyeing this interest with quite a great bit of interest. I hope that it works out for them, and I hope that we see more of this. From what I understand, the California proposal to break up California into 6 different states did not receive the number of I guess it's not that they didn't receive the number of signatures. They got the number of signatures from what I understand, but they were disqualified. Enough of them were disqualified or something like that. Yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong in that. If you're out in California, the latest on that situation. This is just what I heard from Daryl W. Perry, our Friday night co-host. So it's a shame. I would have loved to have seen that one succeed as well. And that is to succeed in seceding. But in that case, they wouldn't be seceding from the United States. It would just be breaking up California into multiple different states, and then they would have to be accepted into the United States or approved by the U.S. Congress, which is a very difficult path. Even if they were to have succeeded with that vote in California, it wouldn't have necessarily have meant down the line that it would have actually occurred.
Yeah, but it would have been I think it would have been a positive thing in any case because it, more decentralizes the political authority. And of course, the government of California is, I think, second only to New York in terms of tyranny, and maybe some of those areas could get freed up a little bit.
Absolutely true. So I don't know what else is working in the land of secession in the United States. I think it's kind of the same old story where Vermont's got a decent movement, New Hampshire kind of a smaller independence movement, Texas, isn't the Republic of Texas down there, I think. There was actually news headlines out of the South. I think there are billboards in Florida and maybe Georgia. I'm not sure where else. But there's the League of the South is, I believe, what they call themselves. They've been buying billboards with the word secede in bold across them. down in the South, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a cool campaign.
I'd like for the Vermont secessionists to succeed in seceding, because that would get rid of Bernie Sanders, and I think that would be a wonderful thing for the United States Senate.
Well, Bernie Sanders, at least he's honest. He'll tell you straight up he's a socialist, right? I mean, you got to give him credit for that.
Well, is there such a thing as an honest socialist? I don't know. I mean, he might be incredibly stupid and also honest, but he couldn't possibly have intellect and.
Well, I think it would be very interesting to see Vermont secede and New Hampshire secede, because it would become a study in contrast, right? And Vermont would likely go in more of a lefty kind of direction with universal health care, where hopefully New Hampshire would go in a more independent direction, a more freedom-oriented direction. And it would be an interesting contrast to look at one state and how it works out versus the other state. Either way, I support it. I don't care what your motivations are for wanting to secede. I don't care if it's because you want to build your own little tyranny or you want to have total freedom. I think that the more independence people can have politically from centralized governments, the better off everyone in the entire world will be.
Generally speaking, I would agree with you, but I wouldn't say that I don't care, because, I mean, that's obviously – look, I mean, we have had certain instances in the United States where a state government does something absolutely awful, and then we can go to federal courts and get that overturned. And
that's true.
Now I don't think that the risks outweigh the benefits.
Yeah, I'm not willing to hold on to the feds in the hopes that they're going to do something good in the future. Right,
because for all the terrible things that New York has done, I mean, you'd have an all-out complete gun ban in New York if not for the federal government, I think. And look, but at the same time, New York hasn't, on its own gone in.
But fine, let them.
New York hasn't on its own gone in and invaded another country either. So, if the federal government is out waging the wars, anything I can do to get away from that, the better.
But ultimately, if New York goes ahead and bans all the guns, if they secede and then ban all the guns, that's just going to mean more people are going to leave New York, right? And then, at least hopefully,
if New York lets them, right? What if New York had then its own? If New York then had its own immigration controls, it would just be, especially you're on Long Island. It's not exactly. It's not. You can't just walk away.
Right.
There's a lot of water there.
Well, get out now while you still can, New Yorkers.
Absolutely.
Before they put up the wall to keep you in. You can come, of course, to New Hampshire if you love freedom, that is. If you don't love freedom, you don't love liberty, then please don't come to New Hampshire, go to Florida, or stay in New York. But if you do love the ideas of liberty, then you really need to ask yourself why you're still in New York or California or Illinois or wherever it is you are where you feel like you're being oppressed. Because you can be more free in New Hampshire. You can check out the Free State Project at freestateproject.org. Come on up for Keenvention. Keenvention is happening in about 6 weeks. I would say 5 or 6 weeks away. It's going to be coming up fast.
Keenvention's a blast.
Yeah, keenvention.info. And that's where you can go to get your tickets. It's October 31st through November 2nd.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.